I had a question on my video about bar chords. Somebody said, well, what about power chords? Could you do a video about those? Yeah, let's have a look. In the bar chord video, I showed how you could play E shapes or A shapes anywhere on the fretboard to get different chords. That's absolutely fine. So you can get your G major, for example, or C major, A, D, B, E, C, F. You can get your sharps and flats, A flat and D flat, for example. And you can get your minors also. So G, G minor, C, C minor. That's fine. However, if I just briefly go through the theory of that, there are 3 different notes only in this chord. And you think, well, hang on, there's 6 strings. Well, we've got, taking the G as an example, we've got 3 Gs, 2 Ds, and a B. And I can make that B into a B flat to get G minor. So only 1 string had to change to make it a minor chord. And that's absolutely fine. However, if we add some distortion, you can hear that sometimes those chords sound a little bit too sort of heavy, a little bit sort of uncontrolled, unrefined. Now, if I reduced the number of strings to just the 6th, 5th and 4th strings here, suddenly it sounds a little bit more refined, and this is a power chord. So we've got 1 finger here on the 6th string, and then your last 2 fingers, 2 frets up on the next 2 strings down, the 5th and 4th strings. Now, you may want this. In fact, you do a lot of the time. If we take the intro to All My Life by the Foo Fighters, they've got this sort of percussive with some palm muting going on the right hand here. All my life I've been searching for... Now, this is an important point, because in that sort of blues and rock sort of idiomatic vocals, what we've got is the 3rd is either minor or major in music theory terms. However, in vocals, it's not. Very often you have something between the 2. It's kind of a bluesy thing where it's called a natural 3rd. Somebody made a video about correcting Robert Plant's pitch on his vocals, which is absurd. You would never do such a thing. But it corrected these vocals, and it just did not sound right. So I want to be able to, if I've got a power chord here, I want to be able to really make the most of that 3rd, ride from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd to get sort of a nice sort of sense of line. Whereas if I've got the major here, it's just getting in the way. So bar chords are useful, but power chords, yep, equally useful. Now, what's happening with the distortion pedal, I've got the Boss Blues Driver BD2 here, is that it is generating harmonics, sort of artificial harmonics based on the notes that it sees. That's what happens when you overload an audio circuit. It actually goes into oscillation. You get all these harmonics that appear. So if I just turn the gain down a bit, you get fewer of those harmonics. If I just hold the chord and turn the gain up, you can hear all those harmonics coming out. It depends on the guitar pickup as well. At the moment, you're listening to the bridge pickup of this Fender Telecaster Deluxe. If I just switch to the neck pickup, I will get a less refined sound, a bit darker sound. The reason for that is that the guitar is actually outputting a different harmonic balance depending on the pickup position. Here, on the bridge pickup, the guitar outputs many more harmonics. All the harmonics are concentrated towards the end of the string, all the upper harmonics, which is why the blues driver can actually do a bit more with it. Now, you can play power chords either on the 6th, 5th and 4th, like this, or the 5th, 4th and 3rd, where you move the entire shape across. Now, it's important, although I'm not barring this chord, it's important to mute the remaining strings, because otherwise, especially with higher gains, you're going to hear those. And then you can stop a chord simply by lifting your left hand, but you've still got your finger over these strings here. So it's a nice powerful sound, hence the term power chord. You could argue that the intro to Smoke on the Water is also power chords. Because if I add the bass note, I've got kind of the same thing, but it's just without that bass. Etc, etc. Now, a power chord is also sometimes, if you look at it on a like a chord chart, if it says something like G5, that's what basically means root and fifth only. There's your root and fifth. It doesn't matter if you add the other root as well. We've got one root here and the other one here. It's like the octave above. And actually G5 can mean root and fifth with another root. It's absolutely fine. If I play those two chords, you just heard, essentially I played 3 strings here and only 2 here. There's not much difference between them. Now you can also play power chords with your last finger flattened against the other 2 strings. You've got to make sure you don't catch any of the other strings, or indeed play the 3rd string with your last finger. And it might actually allow you a little bit more speed there. So it, yeah, just allows a little bit more. If you listen to Paranoid, Black Sabbath, there's no major or minor component at all. If you listen to the "Finish with my woman," that natural third comes out again in Ozzy Osbourne's voice. So, finish with my woman, 'cause she couldn't help me with my life. So there's all sorts of flexibility that can be afforded to your vocal or your top line. If a guitar is playing a solo over something sympathetic in the background, like a power chord. Whereas if you had this, and you've got this in your chord, it's just going to not sound very nice at all. So there we are, power chords. They have a time and a place, and they are really mega useful.